We'll start up front with Jordan.
Jordan Gusky, Topeka Capital Journal. Travis, it was alluded to up there, but I mean, does this project happen? Does it happen on the timeline that it's happening if Lance and this team isn't having the sort of renaissance that's happening right now?
I think you'd be hard-pressed to say yes. I think it'd be disingenuous to say that without the momentum, without the success that we've had with such a short time frame with Lance and the program, that we'd be here today. We'd be here at some juncture. We just don't know maybe the when, and I don't know if to this magnitude, quite frankly, either. So that's absolutely been at the forefront of this.
Henry Greenstein, Lawrence Journal World, and KUSports.com. Who conducted the economic impact that resulted in these 2.4 billion and 1.4 billion numbers?
That was the Hunden partners, prepared a report over many, many months of extensive consultation and research.
Matt Tate with R1S1. I wonder for any of you guys, did you allow student athletes to have much input on any of the renderings or what they wanted to see or any of that stuff over the process?
I would just say, Matt, that I think with us having been so embedded with this group the last couple years, haven't really gotten to know from the context, what are you looking for in a head football coach? What are you looking for in terms of investment and commitment to football at KU? They had a little bit of insight and voice in locker room and weight room with Lance and Matt Gildersleeve. I think we just picked up on, hey, at the end of the day, what they want is the best home field advantage we can possibly provide. They want intimacy. They want fans on top of it, and they want it full. And that's, I think, the path we're on.
Matt, I'd say this is that, just through the daily interactions with our players, I think Matt Gildersleeve in our weight room, when you talk about that project of what functions, what they like, what they're not, how can we save time, what can we do? When it comes to the locker room part of things, Jalen Daniels and Rich Miller went down with myself and a few others down to the locker company, to the really to meet with the people, the manufacturing of it, how it looked, what some of the options we could. So yeah, they had a hand in that. We've had other staff members that really have traveled the country extensively to top programs, new facilities, and of course you look at it and you say, what would you have done differently? What was all those things. Plus you look at the good that's already there. We've taken a lot of research in this and then of course make it fit our footprint.
Daniel Steck, the University Daily Kansan. This kind of renovation definitely solidifies us more as an institution that's kind of embedded in modern college football. With that transition, I'm wondering if you guys have any solidified plans or intentions on bettering the student game day experience, as well as, I know I'm super invested in the student media experience. How are we going to ensure that students are encouraged to participate moving forward?
Yeah, no, absolutely critical aspect of the project. And we'll have a chance to obviously have taken that thought process in the design, thinking about the student experience, everything from where do students enter, what are their premium experiences like? In other words, students warrant the very best in concessions and restrooms and concourse and social spaces. Students not just need but demand the right kind of Wi-Fi capabilities. And now we get a chance to really think more about, well, what's the perfect spot for our students in this new design? How do we have our students make an even greater impact on this team and on this program? And I know without hesitation we'll be sitting down with the student population to discuss that in the months ahead.
And I would just add that they have been, several groups have been part of our design meetings that we've been having, really at a high level, asking, what do you want to see at the Gateway project? I know it'll surprise you that the number one I think came up as food, if I remember right. But really, you know, what are the things that students would like to see in that? And we've asked the same question to the neighborhood communities and in our own campus communities, and are continuing that work as we think about building out the other aspects of this Gateway project, and want to be very responsive to those needs, not only to make sure we meet those needs, but to make sure what we do is successful. Makes no sense to build something that people don't really want, and so we want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the community.
Chris Lazzarino with Kansas Alumni Magazine. Along with the student experience, Chancellor, could you address what marching orders, if any, you might have given regarding alumni expectations for preserving the setting, the general flavor of the scene of a KU football home game?
Well, I think Chris, it goes a little bit bigger than that even. The location of the David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium is incredibly unique in college football, right? I mean, there's just not another setting quite like that, with the hill right there and being nestled in this little valley surrounded by our campus. And of course, that's what every student remembers on graduation, right, is that walk through the Campanile, down the hill, into that epic environment. And absolutely, everyone on the team knew that we had to not only keep that, we had to improve on that. And we had to think about how this initiative would help us, not just on game day and not just for the student experience on game day and the alumni experience on game day, but what happens the rest of the time when we have events there. And to think about how to activate the actual stadium itself more often than just football games, right? How do we create this venue that's attractive to have other things in there, whether it's concerts, whether it's soccer, whether, you know, how do we really create this environment where it's attractive to a lot more activities than in addition to what KU football is going to be doing there.
Hey guys, my name's Jonathan. I work at Fox 4 out of Kansas City. I guess I've got two questions. Can you explain the spokes hanging up from the stadium? What was the design process behind that? And then also, I guess my second question would be, there's a lot of thought about entertainment districts right now an hour east of us when it comes to the professional sports teams there. I'm curious if you guys feel like you can compete for off-season events in the same way that the Chiefs and Royals are looking to hold more off-season events in the future when it comes to their potential new stadiums.
Yeah, great question. The elevated kind of poles, if you will, that you see in the renderings is the lighting for the project, for the stadium. So it literally lights the field for afternoon and evening games. It also, from a design perspective, harkens a little bit with the landscape of our great state. When you think about wheat and you think about tall grass, giving the visual of that from an aesthetic perspective. We love that early from the architects. We really think it's the right way to do lighting, and we also think it really fits the unique Kansas landscape that we're really trying to design to in the project.
And I would add from I guess a competition perspective, if you will, you know, we're a somewhat different sized community than the Kansas City market. And, you know, when we have done our studies and studies have been done before us by the city, you know, it's there. We are aiming with the size of our facility to really meet a different demographic than what we're talking about in big conventions in Kansas City or big events in Kansas City. And when we talk to some of our consultants around entertainment, you know, there's acts that are in Denver, and then they're working their way to Kansas City, but they really don't have anywhere to play in between. And there's not a venue of appropriate size in between. So to think about right-sizing this so that we're not competing with major conventions in Kansas City, which really doesn't make sense, but to create a prime environment for more medium-sized events and conventions. And that's really what has been recommended to us to scale for, and I think makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, John Kirby with Jayhawk Slant and Rivals. This is questions for Lance. You've got the locker room, the weight room, and now this. How much does this help with recruits and their families to sell them?
Game changing. It's a game changer. It shows that this university and administration is committed to being successful in Power 5 football. And as we know in today in the changing landscape of things, where football is and where it be in revenue producing, TV contracts, realignment, all those things. This is a statement to recruit for recruiting, to maintaining staff members, of course, and our fan base, where we're at. We're not existing anymore. And I know there's so much with this district that needed to be highlighted today, and rightfully so, but there's a lot in this next phase as well that's going to add to our building and our daily efforts, and really for our student athletes to reach their fullest capabilities.
Travis and Chancellor Shreyas Latta, Kansas City Star. I know you guys mentioned that $165 million has already been raised donation-wise. Is there a timeline for that, and what are you hoping to get for the rest of donation funding?
Yeah, total goal from a fundraising perspective is $300 million, of which about $250 is allocated for this project. The remaining $50 is focused on the Allen Fieldhouse renovation that's underway. We're not going to just hit the 300, we're going to surpass it. That's what it's going to take, and we have great confidence in our momentum in a fundraising perspective and the way our supporters have stepped up. And then to emphasize also, that's the primary funding vehicle. Athletics, if needed, can borrow against the project and borrow against future revenues that the project will drive. That allows us to invest at an even higher level to see this through. And then the final maybe comment to that is what we unveiled today achieves approximately a 70% new facility. We'll have work to do to tackle the east and kind of that connectivity to the south and finish this full vision.
That's a good answer.
Travis, and right here. This is for either of you. That northeast corner is largely surrounded by a residential area. Have you had dialogue with the city and or state about the infrastructure that allows people to get to the northeast corner?
Yeah, we certainly have, and city leadership in particular has been connected with us from the beginning of our conversations and thinking about that, and then the neighborhood associations as well. It won't surprise you, their issues when we talk to the neighborhoods aren't any different than they actually are today, which is parking and traffic. And the city's already been working on various initiatives to ameliorate traffic through the neighborhoods. But clearly we need some upgraded approaches to this already, actually, even without this project, since that's now the gateway to the campus. The volume is in the hundreds of thousands of people already today. And so we're working closely with the city to think about what that looks like. How do you upgrade Mississippi? How do you upgrade 9th Street? How do you connect to Mass Street, which is really important for us. We don't want to detract from downtown. We want to add to downtown. And frankly, from a convention center perspective, downtown is one of our biggest assets. And so we want to make sure we've got great connectivity there. I'll be honest, I don't know that we've addressed the freeway part of that just yet. It is part of the conversation of the South Lawrence Trafficway Loop, which just got funded to be completed. But actually, with Panasonic going down on K10, that kind of changes everything from a traffic flow perspective that we're going to have to revisit.
Hi, Chad Lawhorn with the Lawrence Journal-World. Can either of you talk about what's next? You've got the RFPs coming up with the private development part of this. Is that where we'll start to see maybe some glimpses of the parking solution? Because that's the question around town: is where are we all going to park, and maybe more importantly, where are we all going to tailgate? So what can you tell folks about what's next on that front?
The answer is yes to that. I mean, in the short run, we aren't really changing the parking with this first phase, right? We're replacing a current piece of the stadium with new stadium. I mean, it'll be impaired temporarily with construction equipment, but really should not diminish our amount of parking capacity through this first phase. But clearly, it's the second phase where we're going to lose significant parking and have to replace that. Looking at 2 or 3 different options, and obviously stacked parking is probably going to be a component of that. But where should that go that it creates the best value to the project will depend on what's in the project.
Chad, maybe the only thing I'd add to that, if we allow ourselves, you could pretty easily state that because we've played in a 100-year-old stadium without major investment to it, we've really just allowed the environment to naturally kind of evolve. We've just done our best with the parking dynamic. We've done our best with what tailgating kind of naturally creates in that environment. This project now gives us a chance to really strategically tackle it in the right manner, in a manner that fits a more modern game day experience, in a manner that has fan experience truly at the forefront from the moment they arrive on the cusp of Lawrence to the second they sit in that seat. And so we're excited about that, because sometimes not until you have a catalyst like this can you really enhance and improve something that frankly has been just okay at best.
Connor Mitchell with the Lawrence Times. So I have two questions. The first one, I realize in the grand scheme of things might not be that big in terms of what we're announcing today, but I know a question a lot of people are going to have is Wi-Fi in the stadium. And then the second question is, I noticed in the renderings that the end zones looked different. So I wondered if the university is moving away from the kind of Trajan font. I noticed that in the new uniforms as well.
Yeah, great. Wi-Fi absolutely will be a part of this, and we'll make sure we have the best Wi-Fi that exists at the moment it's installed. Time-wise on that, obviously next year is going to be a construction site. Would be fast-forwarding to 25, and Sean, you can give me a head shake or a head nod on that. But we'd be fast-forwarding to 25 for the enhanced Wi-Fi at the site. As far as fonts, yes, you're right. We did announce and roll out new football uniforms with kind of a heavy Kansas block, and that's what's basically reflected in these renderings in the end zones, and have not gone away completely from Trajan by any means. It's just a little bit more of a football emphasis with the block font. Lance, would you like to talk about fonts? Add any different?
I think you hit it really well.
Lance doesn't have any opinions on fonts or uniforms or helmet combos or any of that.
Nudging, not nagging, right?
That's right.
Rafael Garcia, the Capital Journal. What are the conversations right now surrounding capacity?
The conversation was really pretty straightforward. We're roughly 47,000 today. In order to create the kind of premium experience that we're committed to, when you think about all the different variety of premium opportunities, a more comfortable basic seat, if you will, right, for your non-premium season ticket buyer or single game buyer for that matter. Because of that, there's going to be some condensing of capacity. It's just an inevitable aspect of building a new West, of building a new North. What we had locked in from the jump was this thing will absolutely be greater than 40,000. And what we still don't know yet to date, which will be something that will probably refine itself in the months ahead, is the specifics. Anticipate in the certainly into the 40s, the low 40s. We're looking at as additional to seating. We're looking at standing room only type opportunities, different plazas that can be activated to add to capacity. And then the remaining element to this answer is we haven't committed to what the East and or the South's going to be in that future phase. And so in a lot of ways, it's up to our fans. Are we going to fill this thing up every game? If we do, I'm really confident we're going to design an East and or a South that will accommodate a greater capacity potentially. But that'll be for a different day. And in the meantime, we got seats available. So we need people to step up and support this program starting this fall at a higher level.
I don't know if you guys gave the players or any athletes a look at this before today, but maybe it was then, or maybe it was just on your walk down the hall. But have you heard any feedback from any of those guys yet? Did anybody say anything about what they saw?
They're amazed. They really, and it was almost like some of the times we talk with the recruits, Matt, about what the locker room and weight room was going to be like, and then we follow up with them. And they're like, it's exactly like you told us. It's exactly what you said. And that's one of the things that you want to be is delivering on what you say you're going to do, and watching their faces just a little bit. And the unfortunate thing about half the guys in the room may not ever play in it, and they kind of that's a part of that mixed feelings for them. But they see it, and they know they're a big part of it. But I think when it comes out, it's going to be another positive injection into this program, and it's exciting, no doubt about it.
Either of you guys hear from anybody walking down here?
I haven't had a chance today. I can tell you, as Lance was talking, I was thinking back to a conversation with Kenny Logan about 2 weeks ago. Right, we're about to unveil the locker room and the weight room. He's so fired up to get in there. And we talked about this announcement. We talked about August 15th. We talked about the degree of which this project was going to be represented on this date. And in his case, we talked about his legacy. We talked about, at the time in which Kenny arrived for a program that had long struggled, the impact he had, and the fact that he will not play in this new stadium. He'll be playing on Sundays, but he will have had a huge hand in positioning us to create this project. And that was really neat because in his case, at least, it really resonated that his legacy is going to be profound here at KU, and there's many of them just like Kenny.
Hey, I was just going to ask, based on the status of Memorial Stadium as it stands, is one of the oldest football stadiums west of the Mississippi and the oldest D1 football stadium west of the Mississippi. I was wondering if in this new form, if there's going to be any homage or any kind of remnants that will pay tribute to that.
I might bounce a question back at you. Do you know why it's a memorial stadium? World War I, exactly, and I will tell you that most of our campus doesn't know that. And we are actually working right now with the World War I National Museum in Kansas City to think about how, particularly on the plaza on the corner of that site, how in fact we can elevate that so that people are immediately aware that it's a memorial to 129 Jayhawks that lost their lives in the First World War. So, yeah, I mean, right now it's sort of a hidden secret. Quite honestly, most people think if it's a war, it's Second World War. It's not. It's First World War. And actually, the Student Union also is a First World War memorial. Most people don't know that either. So we think we have an opportunity to really elevate that and make that front and center as we redesign this. And the design team has been doing a great job at thinking about that.
Two questions. The first one real quick. How much reduced capacity are you looking at probably for the 2024 season? The second one, broader, a lot of details today, everything from, much larger video board to seat, more leg room, more concessions. When you run into somebody on the street and you need to just tell them, hey, when we cut this ribbon in 2025, this is probably what you're really going to notice. What will you tell them?
I think we tell them intimacy, community, energy. I think that's what this venue is going to create. I mean, the reality is the game day experience is not a direct correlation with capacity or numbers or 80,000 or 110,000 as you might see in some of the Big Ten or SEC footprint. We hear time and again that the most exciting and best fan experiences and therefore best student athlete experiences are in full stadiums that have intimacy to the sideline, that, as I think the renderings have demonstrated, bring kind of a stacked approach to the decks that puts even that upper deck, most inexpensive seat literally on top of the action. And I think that's going to be part of that description. The other thing, Chad, I think is something for everyone. That's going to be at the forefront. We're going to have affordable ticket price points. We're going to have a remarkable student experience. And I think all of those things will come to fruition when we're able to showcase this in 2 years.
Yeah, and Chad, I think I'd just add, when I described it, so I think of an outdoor Allen Fieldhouse. That's what we're shooting for, right? To create that kind of energy for a player in the middle of a game. Talk about home field advantage. That gives you a home field advantage. As for capacity through the interim season, I think we're still working on that. Clearly, we'll still have an east grandstand. We may well end up with some temporary grandstands as well on the west side if we're still kind of working through how we can do that and not interfere with the construction process. So stay tuned on that one. And it's at the moment, and I get asked this a lot, it is our intent to have graduation in the stadium.
Okay, thanks everyone. I will have some breakouts outside with some other former letter winners that are here and some others. If you have any questions, we go.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.